Thornton, Esquire Law Group, PLLC. Okay, I wanted to talk to you all about what do you all do when you may be called out in these Houston floods. Okay, one of the things that I would suggest to do is, first of all, be mindful of these weather reports. Back in the day, we used to hear warnings about this and warnings about that, and those things really didn't happen. So we just kind of started dismissing those warnings. Like, oh, it's no big deal. It's not going to be a tornado. It's not going to be this. It's not going to be that. It's the lightning, oh well, whatever. But anyway, lately in the last so many years, starting with Hurricane Harvey and even flooding in September of 2019, there have been some serious dangers that we have found ourselves in. Normally, I do stay put for most of these warnings, but in September, I just want to share with you that I had to be in court that morning. And so after I left court, and I was delayed in court that morning, but anyway, after I left court, it started pouring down again. It had already been flooding for some days, but it had slacked up. But after I left court, it started pouring down again, and it started flooding, and it was terrible. And so I felt like I need to get home. Anyway, I took some back roads, thinking, okay, this is gonna be okay. I'm gonna go down. Doesn't look like it's flooding. So anyway, I went through West University, and I ended up flooded with my car, and I have a little small car. So anyway, I was sitting in my car, like, what am I gonna do? I'm just not used to even sitting in floods and trying to figure out what to do. So as I was sitting there calling my family, trying to figure out what I was gonna do, there was a nice neighbor that came, and she had an umbrella and she had on her boots. And she came and she asked me if I needed any help. And so I asked her, I said, well, is the water up past my door? Can I open my door? And so she said, looks like it is. Why don't you look out the window and see? So that's what I did. I looked out my window, and I was able to see that the water was just barely just barely below the line for my door. So I opened up my door, and I think I had on, I took off my shoes. So I opened up my door, and I went on out, and this lady, such a nice lady, she started talking to me. I started talking to her, thanked her for letting me get out of her car. I just thought, okay, she's just gonna let me stand here with this umbrella while I try to figure out what I'm gonna do. So anyway, this lady invited me into her home. We ended up talking. I was able to eventually, maybe 3 or 4 hours later, the rain stopped, and I was able to get somebody to pick me up. But I thought, well, of course you're thinking, well, should I go into this person's home? She's probably thinking the same thing about me. But anyway, so I guess she felt like I was a nice person, and she invited me in her house. She asked me if I wanted water or anything to eat, if I needed to use her phones or chargers or whatever. And so I sat there and I got to know that lady. I'm not going to say her name because I think she'll be embarrassed. But eventually, as we discussed and talked about different things, it ended up to where she enjoyed cycling just as much as I do. And so I invited her to my cycling club that I have, Houston Ladies Cycling Club. And so anyway, that was in September. And so I'm still grateful for it. So I just want to share that with you. But again, I think I probably was kind of turning up my nose at everybody before September about getting caught in the floods, because, you know, my thing is you should just sit still. You shouldn't be in these streets. If you know it's flooding, you know, sit still. So I was humbled and I was taught a lesson that I also need to sit myself still regardless of the situation, and I should be grateful and appreciative and have more I guess a sympathy for those that get caught in floods, because I mean, it's a scary thing, and I was scared. Even though the water wasn't over my door, it was still scary for me, and I try to be a tough cookie. But anyway, so I would just again ask you all to be more careful when you have the threat of floods in Houston, because we flood in a minute. Anyway, if y'all have anything, y'all have any comments, y'all any other stories to share similar to mine, feel free to do that. Thank you.